everybody, it's Chef Laura. Welcome back to Cooking with We Chef. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be making some pancakes. It's my favorite recipe. My daughter adores this recipe. And we will be doing some varieties of this recipe at the end to make it whatever you want. We're going to do banana, we're going to do some strawberries, and then chocolate chips and rainbow sprinkles, so that will be great. The first thing we need to do is measure all of our ingredients. Measuring is a great way to involve math in the kitchen. It's also a great way to get the kids, littler kids, working on some fine motor skills. So the first thing we have is flour. We're gonna do a nice big scoop of flour. We're gonna kind of make sure that it's nice and filled up with no little holes in our cup of flour. And then we're gonna just take this is an offset spatula, kitchen knife, something just with a nice flat surface that you can scrape across the top to get a nice flat even scoop. And then I always like to give a little ring on the bottom of my cup so that it makes sure to empty into my bowl. So then we're gonna do 2 more of those. So we have 1.5 cups of flour into this recipe, and this is just regular all-purpose flour. So 3.5 cups of flour into there, okay? Into our bowl. Then we have a couple more dry ingredients that we need. We are going to do 1 tablespoon of sugar. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna scoop, we're gonna scrape across the side of that tablespoon and dump it into our bowl. We only add a small amount of sugar to our pancake batter because we're gonna be adding, if we're gonna add chocolate chips and sprinkles, those are 2 sweet things. We also, most people add maple syrup or regular syrup onto their pancakes when they're eating them, so that's adding a bunch of sugar. So the actual pancake batter doesn't need a lot of sugar. We have 2 more dry ingredients we're gonna add to this recipe. We have 3.5 teaspoons of baking powder. That's a lot of baking powder. These are nice fluffy pancakes, which is what I really like about them. I like a nice fluffy pancake, not a flat one, unless I'm making my Swedish pancakes, and then it can be nice and flat, or crepes. But for a regular American pancake, I like it nice and fluffy. We also have a teaspoon of salt. Salt helps bring out the flavor in our food. We don't want salty pancakes, but we want salt in there that's just gonna help the overall flavor of our pancakes. So those 4 ingredients are what we call our dry ingredients. The next thing we're gonna do is we are going to add our wet ingredients. There are 3 wet ingredients. The first one is we're gonna add milk. Typically when I'm cooking, I like to use whole milk. However, at my house, I only have 2% typically on hand, and that works just fine. Skim milk totally will work just fine, but typically in bakeries and restaurants, they're gonna be using whole milk. And so that's what I keep here at We Chef. So when I have a liquid measuring cup, and we're gonna do 1.25 cups of our milk. So we're gonna pour. This is a great way, again, involve the kids, have your little ones hold the milk carton with you to pour. Your big kids, challenge them to do it on their own. So I have my 1.25 cups. I also have 3 tablespoons of butter that I melted in this ramekin, and then we have to get our egg cracked. So again, as we did in our last frittata video, we're gonna hold our egg firmly, tap it against the edge of our table. I don't like to tap against the edge of the bowl. I feel like you don't get a good solid crack into the egg, because we really want, especially for when kids are opening an egg, we really want a good solid crack in there. So we're gonna then put our thumbs into that crack in the egg gently. We're not jabbing them in there because that's gonna break our yolk, which in this circumstance is not a big deal, but if we were trying to separate the egg and get the yolk separated from the white, that breaking the yolk would not be helpful in that. So anyways, we're putting our thumbs into the crack in that egg, and we're gently gonna pull our thumbs away from each other, opening up that egg very carefully, okay? Then I'm gonna pour my egg in. I'm going to pour my milk into the flour. And I'm going to pour my butter. I'm gonna get a spatula because I am a believer in butter, and butter tastes delicious. And so I wanna make sure I get all those nice 3 tablespoons of butter into my recipe. Then I'm gonna grab my whisk And I'm gonna start by stirring gently because I don't want my flour going all over my table. So when I first start whisking, I need to whisk gently. Then as things start incorporating, I can speed up, which I'm not quite there yet. I'm using my whisk to scrape the sides of the bowl so that none of that flour is left on the side. And now that nothing's gonna go flying everywhere, I can speed up my whisking a little bit. Now, you can have a couple little lumps in here, that's okay. You'll notice this batter typically isn't completely smooth, but it should be mostly smooth, okay? So just give it a good whisk. Then I'm gonna tap off my whisk to get all that batter out of there. And we're gonna start preparing our mix-ins for this. Okay, now I have separated my pancake batter into 3 different bowls because I'm gonna show you 3 different mix-ins for our pancake batter. Look in your fridge, look in your freezer if you have some frozen berries in your freezer, fresh fruit in your refrigerator, in your cabinets, chocolate chips, sprinkles, chopped nuts, lots and lots of different things. Spices can all go into your pancakes. Lots and lots of different options. Do this along with your, let your older children come up with some things on your own, help guide your littler kids, can, along with your guidance, can make some fun choices as well. And mix things up, chocolate chips and bananas, chocolate chips and strawberries, strawberries and bananas, lots of different options, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna prepare our strawberries. Again, I'm using this kid's knife by Curious Chef. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut off these, the green leaves from the top. So I kind of like to push them forward a little bit, otherwise we don't want to cut too far down the strawberry. So if we make a better view of where our fruit, the actual fruit part that we're gonna eat is, I find that kids don't cut off as much. So we're gonna cut through our strawberry. We have to saw using this kid's knife. Then I'm gonna cut some strips. I have my fingers tucked in so that I don't cut them. Then I'm gonna lay them on their side and I'm gonna cut these in half. So again, let's do one more. We're gonna push those leaves forward. I'm gonna cut as close to those leaves as I can because I wanna use as much of that berry as I can. I'm gonna flip that berry onto its flat side because it's much easier to cut without my berry rolling around like this. So if I have it on the flat side, it's gonna be a lot easier for me to cut. Once again, with my fingers tucked in, I'm gonna cut slices from this strawberry, then I'm gonna lay them on their side and cut those slices in half. Then I'm gonna scoop up all those delicious strawberries and put them into my bowl, one of my pancake bowls, okay? Then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take half a banana, I'm gonna peel it, and notice that this banana has a lot of brown on it. So what happens to a banana, I personally love to eat a banana that has a good amount of green on it. That's what tastes good to me. However, those bananas are full of starch, and as the banana ripens, that starch turns to sugar. So we want bananas that are pretty brown when we're cooking with them. I am notorious for not eating all the bananas that I buy at the grocery store, so I let them sit, get super, super, super brown, and then I put them in my freezer, and when I wanna make something with bananas in them, I pull them out, and they look disgusting, they're slimy and brown, but they make the best banana bread, so, or muffins or whatever you wanna do with it. So anyway, so this one's nice and brown. I'm gonna peel this half banana. I'm going to put this in the bowl, and then have your kids, you can either use a fork or you can use your hands, and we're gonna smush this banana up. Okay, we're gonna get that nice and smushed up. Okay, and it can be a little bit chunky. I like it a little chunky. I'm gonna rinse my hands off. Okay, and then using my spatula, we're gonna take those bananas and put them into our bowl and mix them into our batter. So again, this is 1/3 of the batter that I made. So that's why I'm only using half a banana. If I was using all of the batter, and you could, if I was using all of the batter, I'd obviously put more banana. Depending on how much you like banana, you might want to put this entire banana mushed into this batter. So due to your liking, while I am stopped here for a second, I'm gonna mix my strawberries into my strawberry batter. Now, I am now going to take, this is my last batter that I have to finish up. I have some chocolate chips I'm gonna put in there. How about some nice rainbow sprinkles? Not many kids who don't like rainbow sprinkles. We're gonna put those into that mix, and we're gonna mix these together. Now, a really great way, ooh, that chocolate chip tried to escape, that's not okay. A really nice way to incorporate some math exercises into kids cooking for some older kids is take the main recipe, tell them I want you to make half of this recipe, and have them do the math for breaking down that recipe. So we had 1.5 cups of flour, so that would mean we'd be using 3/4 cups of flour, and have them do throughout the entire thing. Talk to them about how there are 16 tablespoons in 1 cup, and that will help them break things down too. So if you ever have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email. So now we're gonna cook these. I have my saute pan heating up over on my induction stove. I like induction cooking. Here specifically, I have a gas stove at my home, but induction's great here because there's no open flame, so it just, it's a bit safer for me with the kids here. I like to cook my pancakes in butter. I am a believer in butter. As I said earlier, butter is delicious, so cooking your pancakes in butter is delicious. But pan spray would be fine too if you wanted to do that. I have my butter is melting in here, so things I'm looking for to make sure my butter is hot enough to add my batter to the pan. I want to hear the butter sizzle. I want to smell the butter in the air, and I want to see it sizzling as well, okay? Some of the things you can talk about with your kids is the butter is actually going from a solid to a liquid to a gas. I did a vocabulary unit the other day with my daughter, and that was what it was all about. And when I was making these pancakes, I thought that is a perfect example of those things happening. So we can see the steam coming up, and that's when it turns into a gas. So again, we can have a science lesson in the kitchen. So I'm just gonna give this another second. We're gonna cook a strawberry pancake. Now my daughter personally likes little pancakes, so I have a larger saute pan at home. I'll put 3 little 1/4 cups worth of batter into that pan. Some people like bigger pancakes. Do what your kids like or what you like. So I'm gonna pour my batter into the pan using my spatula. I'm just gonna use my spatula to spread it out a little bit because of the strawberries, and our strawberry chunks, my strawberry chunks at least, were bigger. It needs a little help smoothing out, okay? So I use my spatula a little bit to kind of spread it around a little bit so I can hear that butter sizzling, which is good. You want to hear that when you add your batter to the pan. I'm gonna turn down my heat a little bit because these pancakes first are kind of thick. It's a dense batter, so it doesn't just spread totally flat in your pan. So the pancakes stay a little thick. Because of that, I want to turn my heat down a little bit so that the outside doesn't become too dark without the inside cooking. Now, these pancakes do take a little longer to cook than a thinner pancake would. And because of that, sometimes if I have a bunch of pancakes that I'm making, either here or at my house, what I'll do is I'll keep a sheet tray next to me. I'll cook all the pancakes, and they might not be cooked all the way through. I'll have my oven at 350, and I will just pop them into the oven, either as I'm making them or all of them at the end, to just finish them up. And that tends to speed the process along a little bit. Otherwise, they're really staying on the stove top for a bit of time because these are a little bit thicker pancakes. Before you flip your pancakes, some of the things you are looking for is what you want to see is around the edge, your pancake is going to start setting up a little bit. You're gonna see it looks a little drier around the edge. You're gonna see some bubbles. The other thing you wanna see is in the middle of your pancake, you are going to see some bubbles coming up through the middle. If you flip your pancake too early, you're gonna end up with batter everywhere, okay? Or just splatters of batter in your pan. So wait for those two things and you should be able to flip your pancake easily. So these pancakes I put onto the sheet tray, I finished them in a 350-degree oven for about 3 minutes. It just takes a little while to get them cooked to the center in the oven. You can see they're quite fluffy and thick, and I'm gonna deliver these to my daughter who's chilling in the office right now, and hopefully she will enjoy them. Have a great day. I look forward to having you here at my next video. Take care, bye-bye.